Hi, good evening, everybody. Today is a very special day. We have a CEO of Steath Shampoo Company, and his name is Nicky Violet. The color of the sky. He is today bringing the diversity in our session. He is one of the earliest Twitch partners. When I say earliest Twitch partners, I really mean it. He was one of the thousand when the Twitch started, and now we know how Twitch is. He is also have a career in virtual reality and thousand of views on his own channel. He is a licensed tournament organizer and a judge for the Pokemon Company International. He volunteers at a local card shop to run and broadcast real life Pokemon trading card game tournaments. He is very enthusiastic and always a fun to engage in conversation with. So please welcome today Nicky Violet.
It's the two of us clapping.
Thank you, Nick, for joining.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for sharing some of your day here with me in the beautiful Florida weather out there. It's very similar here in California, just about the same temperature. We're both warm climate people, looks like.
That's awesome. Florida, Miami. I have been here like for 3 years now, and it is now a beautiful home to me. I am Sweta Gupta. I am a PhD student in electrical and computer engineering, and recently I have started this photosynthesis theme of planting a smart smile, through which I engage with conversations with people like Nicky and other enthusiastic and entrepreneurs, leaders who are highly positive energy are welcome here to come and share their thoughts in a very small interview and a questionnaire session that I'm going to start right now. So Nikki, are you ready?
Oh, yeah. I don't photosynthesize at all, for the record. I'm very much a carnivore.
That's awesome. So Nikki, tell me a little bit more about yourself from your perspective.
Yeah, so I'm a video editor. I've worked in the virtual reality industry for since 2017, so let's say 5 years or so. That's ranging from things like VR arcades, doing little events showing people virtual reality for the first time. This is long before the Quest series of headsets came out, and anyone had any experience with VR. After I worked at a bunch of VR arcades, I actually opened one up with my friend Leo in San Mateo, California. It's called the Hero Hangout VR, and I ran that with him for a little bit. Now he's holding down the ship. After that, I moved over to Live, which is a VR software company. And what they do is mixed reality and avatar software that connect game developers and creators together. And if you ever see someone in VR playing a game, but you actually see the real life movement, Beat Saber is our biggest example of that. If you see someone holding the swords in Beat Saber and then slashing blocks to the music, and you see their full body in VR, we made the software over there at Live to make that happen. And now I'm just kind of doing random freelance stuff. Right now, I'm mostly focused on making Valorant TikToks. Valorant, as many of you guys know, one of the biggest esports in the world, not a VR game, but I'm kind of honing more of my video editing skills and my creative storytelling and seeing if I can get a little bit of a foothold there before I go back in ideally some kind of marketing role or a social media role. And if there are any game companies out there looking for someone to handle that, maybe I can do that for them. But yeah, that is my main passion right now, is mainly a video editing and playing Valorant.
Wow, that's something a passion, and you have really carried it far beyond with so many entitlements in your career. So let's move from professional side of you to a little bit different side. What are your hobbies?
Yeah. Obviously, aside from playing Valorant and virtual reality, I really like going to the arcade. I took a couple trips to Japan, and I really loved the arcade scene there. We have a couple up here in Northern California, and Southern California has a bunch of arcades. But Japan's arcade culture is very, very diverse and unique compared to ours out here in America. Arcades are not so popular, whereas in Japan, it's a very common after work or after school activity. So I really like to go to the arcade, play rhythm games, mainly rhythm games like Dance Rush Stardom, Waka. Everyone knows Dance Dance Revolution. I'm really into rhythm games, not even just Beat Saber. I have my little keyboard here. This is a rhythm game specific, like little portable keyboard with some nice switches on it. So that's one of my favorite things to do. I'm at the arcade multiple times a week. I have a round one platinum card, which just means that I go there a lot. So much so that they give me the fattest discounts they can. I also go rock climbing. That's my main. I wouldn't really call it a hobby. I would call it a thing that I do and tolerate for the sake of my own physical well-being, just to build a little bit of strength and look pretty decent coming up for the summer. So I rock climb not because I really love being outdoors. I mean, I like being outdoors, but it's a physical activity other than dancing that I can tolerate. But I think other than virtual reality, video games, going to the arcade, and climbing rocks, I don't have very many other hobbies because I spend much of my time making TikToks.
I think your hobbies are very much immersed with your professional life. You really love your work, as you say. Apart from hobbies and work life, how do you perceive the world in light of peace and humanity?
Oh, so peace and humanity is such a large topic that I feel like one president, one prime minister, one person on a council can't really be the end all be all of the solution to what peace and humanity can be. I think it's a collective effort amongst every human on Earth to reach some sort of way that we can all coexist. We're not even talking about in between countries. We're talking about just in between communities in our own neighborhoods. We have things like homeowners associations, right? That's so much smaller than global, happenings right now that are going on. A lot of war, many different problems. I think peace is not just opposed by violence, but it's opposed by things like hunger. I wouldn't really call hunger violence, but I don't think we can have peace while we have people out there who are hungry. Similar to how we can't have peace if we have wars all the time. We can't have peace if there are homeless people out there. They need a home, even if they're not violent. I don't think we can truly reach a peaceful society when there are people out there who aren't as lucky as I am. I have sitting behind me on the floor a $1,000 virtual reality headset, and there's some people who don't even have $1,000 in their bank account. And I think as long as people like that exist in the world, we really can't achieve peace. And we're at a point where this isn't the 15th century anymore. We're not dealing with the Black Plague. I don't actually remember what century that happened. Massive disease. We all wash our hands. Food is plentiful, at least for right now, before global warming takes over. And I think that we have the resources in today's society to make sure that a lot of basic needs are met for people. Things like life-saving medication, things like making sure everyone has homes. I mean, there's so many homes out there that are just unoccupied or people are being priced out of them. It's a very common thing we see here in California where people are moving out to just cheaper parts of the country. I actually personally met someone. I didn't know them. I actually did not know this person. Funny story. I also, my other hobby I forgot to mention is going to play at card shops, but I was at a card shop. I never interacted with this person. He was playing a different card game. I visited Colorado for a little bit, went to a different card shop that I'd never been to before, and he recognized me there. And he told me that he moved from California, where we lived, to Colorado because it was so much cheaper. And that was actually just a really weird coincidence because we never met each other, but he recognized my voice. It's a little bit distinctive. And so when there are people, leaving their hometowns, I've born and raised here. When there are people being priced out of homes, when there are people out there starving in the streets, even things like animals. I really care about animals. I donate to the local animal shelter. In fact, just for fun earlier, I was looking at ways I can volunteer at the local animal shelter. But there are plenty of animals out there who need homes as well. And I think peace can really be achieved when some of these resources are not just distributed to everyone and that everyone has a little bit of it. But I also want to make sure that it's accessible and that not one person is hoarding too much, because there is a finite amount of earth that we live on, whether it be water, food, the animals we eat. There's a finite amount of energy out there. We can have solar, of course, and nuclear, solar, of course, wind, things like that. Green energy is always going to be there. Um, but we have to make sure that one person or one thing isn't hoarding too much of these resources, because there's a real finite amount of them, and having every person have access to running water, power. I think the internet now should be a basic human resource. You need the internet to apply for jobs. You need the internet to do basic research or stay educated or stay connected with your family. I know back home in the Philippines, a lot of people use Facebook Messenger to contact each other back and forth. And so staying connected to the internet or having a cellular connection, I think these should be basic human things and utilities that everyone should have, because if they don't, then how can we really have a peaceful society when other people are out there fighting, maybe not fighting physically, but fighting for their lives, fighting for all these different kinds of resources. And without actually distributing these finite amount of resources that we have on Earth, I think that some people are always going to be out there suffering, and maybe just lowering everyone's suffering by a little bit is something that I don't know how I would do, but I think it's up to our collective power, whether it be by voting or by just caring about each other, is how we're going to get it done.
That's an excellent perspective. To add a little bit to it, it's like, as you mentioned, like the collective approach. That's very significant. I remember one time there were whales that were being slaughtered at the massive scale, and just because some people chose to come front and speak collectively about it, it really stopped to 99%. So the collective approach is a power, and yes, the to hold the power in one hand has always caused and seen destruction in name of peace and humanity at times. So, and one of the thing that you mentioned that I really loved was technology, like how it should be a basic right for everybody in this era, so that people can actually come forward and do something. If try to find a job and I go and search any place, they just push me back and say go online. Like everything is online. We are going to an era of metaverse and leaving behind a complete set of people who are dying of hunger, poverty, and does not even have a candle to light in their home. I forgot about internet. So talking about this, I would like to know, what are your perspectives about the countries which are not the first world countries, and in the light of pandemic, how does the equity is, is being mispronounced in certain sense? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, actually, so no surprise to anyone, I'm Filipino, and the third world countries and poor countries out there, mainly places like the Philippines, Malaysia, island-based countries, are really going to be suffering from global warming. They're not contributing to global warming as much as the United States or China with air pollution, throwing things in the ocean and all that stuff. But they're going to suffer disproportionately because of how poor they are, and because, well, the Philippines is literally an island, right? They just have more water. And if sea levels rise, I feel like islands, I'm no geographer or anything like that, but islands are going to be a little bit less well off. And because the Philippines isn't contributing to that problem as much as everyone else, I'm sure all humans to some extent are contributing to the global warming problem, they're going to suffer from it disproportionately. And I think that other countries that are a little bit poorer are unfortunately also not taking advantage of the world's vaccines. Maybe they can't manufacture as many, maybe they aren't able to get as many from other countries as possible. But COVID is a global issue. And, just because I'm an American and someone else, let's say across the border, is Canadian, doesn't mean that through a chain of people, I can't pass it if I already get COVID out to someone who's in Canada. Maybe that person in Canada pass it to someone else who's visiting from Asia, and then it goes all the way around. And so just because your community is vaccinated and being taken care of doesn't necessarily mean that these poor countries who have people who want to be vaccinated are going to be okay. And if they're not okay, then that's the spread of more disease. And as we saw with COVID, it didn't start here in America, as far as I know, and it got here. and so it can still be spread back and forth if we don't take care of these other countries. So yeah, unfortunately there are some people out there in various countries around the world who can't stay there because of war or famine, or just a number of other dangerous conditions, and they need to go somewhere else. And that just plays back into the peace thing, right? Why do like, we're pretty peaceful here in America. There hasn't been a war on American soil for a very long time, with the exception of when Pearl Harbor happened, because that may have been the last American soil war. Um, but because there's peace here, and because I'm not actively being shot at right now, doesn't mean that someone somewhere out there in Europe isn't being shot at. And that still should be a little bit of a concern to me. Of course, it's very high priority for them and lower priority for me. But if there was a way for me to help, either by donating money, if I had, extra funds, or if we could send food over, I think taking care of everyone around the world is still very important, because as big as Earth is, we're still very, very connected. I mean, I could be in Europe, COVID and all that aside, 12 hours from now. If I got in a plane, like, we're that connected. People can fly nowadays, where centuries ago we were taking boats everywhere, where I can appear on the other side of the earth in less than a day. And so we're all very connected, much more than anyone would think. So even West Coast to East Coast in the United States. And yeah, we should be taking care of the poor countries if we possibly can.
Oh, that's a fantastic human spirit you have, because to think about countries that are not very well equipped and have really no fault of theirs as to how the repercussions are going to be about, especially in the light of climate change. I- it's the equity in itself is a very distinguishing issue. It's like it's we are here in America, in beautiful soil of this visionary country, and somewhere, like, I come from India, and I feel a hell lot of responsibility, s- uh, because I have seen those people, I have lived with those people, and they are all beautiful people, very good people. They will have a good heart. If you happen to be in trouble, they will find and come and help you. That kind of country, an incredible country I come from, and I don't want to see it dying. So, and as a part of climate change, which is a global issue, just like the COVID, right? And we saw how our lack of having equality in vaccine, or how to deal with these situations, we end up prolonging the trouble, right? So this climate change is also not an issue of Philippines or India or America. It's now a collective issue. And somewhere I feel like countries like America, Germany, Europe, they have beautiful coal-fired power plants, and they are saying shut us down because we are creating pollution. They have desulfurizing units, which many of the countries in the third world areas does not have, and they are allowed to run their power plants. So, we want our countries, our world, our global society to be clean, and on the other hand, we just want to shut down the power plants that affect the West. So, don't you think there is a disproportionality when it comes to speaking about things of policy change, or holding the power in the first world countries?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I just want to reemphasize my disclaimer. I'm not an environmentalist or a politician or anything like that. I'm literally a video editor. This is all just my own opinion. But yeah, us first world countries, we really are impacting the global climate in a much more severe way than poor countries. I know one of my friends up in Canada, he lives up in Vancouver, and they hit, I think, two or three different days where they broke the record for record heat in Canada. There's a heat wave that went through the Pacific Northwest last year, and it was so intense that I remember my friend in Canada, which I picture to be a very snowy, very chill place. He's sitting next to a fan, and we're telling him to get on and play a video game. and it's so hot he doesn't want to get away from the fan and turn on his PlayStation, which would generate even more heat. And if I'm not a climate change expert, but if 3 record-breaking heat days in Canada in 1 year isn't a sign that we're doing something wrong, then I don't know what is. And so we really should be taking it seriously because it's impacting us here in America as well with more extreme environmental, whether it be tornadoes or heat waves,
It
whether it be the oceans rising, the icebergs melting, various animals going extinct, water not being drinkable or livable for various aquatic species. We're probably doing something wrong. And I personally have no idea how to solve this. I can pick up trash on the side of the freeway, right? I always try to recycle. I have a compost bin, right? There's so little that I can do when celebrities are taking private jets, and private jets are very, very fuel inefficient when you're flying one person across rather than multiple people all kind of carpooling and playing together a private jet. That's very inefficient. There's very little I can do to stop a celebrity from taking a private jet. And in a way, they earn that money and they deserve a little bit of luxury and, flying around a private jet. Maybe they donate to other causes that I've spoke about, like hunger, or maybe they've planted trees in the Amazon or something like that. So I'm not one to say that, oh, just because they're in a private jet means they're worse on the environment. They have a lot of resources. Maybe they donated somewhere where I didn't have the same amount of money they did, which is fair to do. But I can only do as much as I can, and I guess ultimately I'm just aware of my own environmental impact. I'm aware that by eating meat, for example, cows let a lot of, I think it is it CO2. Cows are not great for the environment for the amount of that we're eating and slaughtering. And so I am still eating meat,
also
right?
or cut.
Yeah, so I'm still eating meat. So in that way, I'm impacting the environment, right? But I also compost. I'm also very aware with the packaging, for example, for Pokemon trading card game products. Like I have a lot of them back here. Like this box right here, right? This box is made out of cardboard, right? And this cardboard was wrapped in plastic, and then this cardboard box that was wrapped in plastic was put into a bigger box with a bunch of these in them. That was shipped, and that was gas, paper, and plastic. And then this wrapper, these wrappers, when you open this up, is foil, and you actually can't recycle this, at least in California, this like foil. So when you throw that away, that's garbage, that's landfill. Inside is cards, which is literally cardboard. And so there's a huge environmental impact. And there's some other Pokemon products, for example, like when you buy a box, when you go to Target and you see a box of Pokemon cards, there's a nice little big card displayed in the front, right? Well, that card is held on the front to be displayed for marketing purposes because they want you to look at it and buy it. But it's held in the front by more plastic. That plastic holds the packs, which again have the foil that you can't recycle. And then all of that is contained in a cardboard box. And that cardboard box can be recycled, but it was brought in a bigger cardboard box, which contained a ton of those products. And then that was shipped over on a truck. And it's so um, environmentally negative just for me to have a literal piece of cardboard. It's a Pokemon card. It's a piece of cardboard. All of that environmental impact for me to be holding a piece of cardboard. And I'm extremely aware of that. And I don't know what the solution is because everyone's hobby to some extent has some kind of negative environmental implication. Golf is a great example, right? They spend so much water watering those lawns and keeping the grass green and maintaining it. Then you have the gas it takes to get to different golf courses and golf courses all around the US and all around the world. Or if you take up, any other hobby, riding a motorcycle, motorcycles don't have generally, I believe, catalytic converters in them that reduce smog emissions that go into the air. And so California has lighter rules when it comes to smog in motorcycles. So if your hobby is riding a motorcycle because you like to lane ride and dodge traffic and it's just fun, even though it's a little dangerous, no hate to you, but that hobby is also bad for the environment. I almost cannot think streaming is bad for the environment. I used to be a professional Twitch streamer. It uses electricity. I have a dual PC stream set. I have 2 PCs churning out electricity using internet bandwidth. Other people are watching me on their phones, all the take electricity. So all of us have an environmental impact, no matter what we're doing. I guess unless you're literally like just living out in the wild off the land, hunting rabbits and drinking water. That might be the lowest carbon footprint I can think of. But every single one of us in modern society, especially me out here living in Silicon Valley, Silicon Valley has some kind of environmental impact, and I'm just very aware of it, and I'm doing what I can. But I think there is more to be done. There's more to be done in green energies, voting for people who support wind and solar, and not just people who want to, let's support the gas companies. Oh, I'm getting paid out by the gas companies. Let's make sure that why have gas prices gone up? Gas is $6 here in California. $6 a gallon of gas in some places. If you get lucky, you can get it for like $5.50. So at $6, these gas companies are making bank. Why aren't they taking a hit? And why are the American people paying for these higher gas prices? Why aren't the gas stations taking this L and just saying, you know what? We got this one. Gas is, we're going to make a little bit less of a profit this time so people can get to work, because we live in a very car-based society. And I mean, I can go on and talk about Europe. One of my friends moved to Paris um, for a variety of reasons, but I imagine one is because of the public transit and how they deal with cars there, because cars are very polluting. But yeah, gas prices are just absolutely insane. And that's a byproduct of just, I mean, of course, the war, but we don't need gas prices this high. Gas companies are making profits, and the average American who needs to get to work, right? Someone's working their minimum wage restaurant job. They're paying the same gas prices I do if I make more than them. And I don't know if that's particularly fair. And so these greener energies, I personally cannot build a windmill, but I can vote for someone who wants to build a windmill.
I believe that's a very deeper perspective than people hold about environment. I really respect it because I really feel for climate myself, and to see somebody feeling and being aware of it in such a fashion is mesmerizing. So congratulations to be that inspiration for people who would be viewing you, I would say. And one of the question that I want to ask you is, you mentioned about motorbikes, right? So
Yeah.
what are your favorite automobiles that you like? Automobiles are beast.
Yeah, I'm not much of a car person. I've considered riding a motorcycle, and then I looked into its gas mileage pretty good because it's just you and a motor, right? It's a motor bicycle, much more efficient than the Toyota Corolla that I drive. But ultimately, they're a little dangerous and actually worse for the environment because they don't have those same smog protections that other cars do. That's something I just learned recently. So yeah, as far as vehicles go, I do eventually want to get an electric vehicle. I've been driving the same Toyota Corolla. These things last forever. They're an absolute tank. I'm going to run that car into the ground just to save money, and then probably pick up an electric vehicle once it kind of stops working. But it's 15 years old at this point, the car I'm driving, and it still kind of gets the job done. Like, I don't even have a backup camera. I parallel park in San Francisco, no backup. When people say they're good at parallel parking, you have a backup camera. Your car literally beeps when it's time for you to turn the wheel or you're getting too close. Like, you're not actually good at parallel parking. I have never parallel parked with a backup camera. I raw dog it. We go in there, right? I've never bumped anyone. I've never been in a major car accident. That when I've been driving. And so I just parallel park myself. I'm not much of an automobile person, but I kind of want to pick up a Tesla. As Elon Musk, everyone has an opinion on him nowadays, but I do want to pick up either like some kind of luxury electric vehicle for my first car. I mean, I've been driving this car since high school, so for my first real like adult car, some kind of luxury electric vehicle. I don't really go too far. I'm not going to be like driving from here to LA occasionally. Very, very rarely I'll drive from San Francisco to LA, but I'm not looking to do like cross country trips or anything like that, right? I drive 20 minutes to the gym or to the grocery store or something like that. And so that's all I really need. So maybe some kind of electric vehicle at some point, but I'm not too much of definitely not a van person, definitely not a truck person. Actually, one of my friends is a big transit advocate, and so I hate trucks now because of them. They're very not safe for people. I understand that I'm a Californian, right? So if you live out there in Arkansas, or you live out in I don't know, what are one of those middle states like Wyoming or something, you got to tow trucks. You're a farmer, like absolutely get a truck, right? But if you live out here in San Francisco, California, there's no reason that you should be driving a truck that I, as a 6 foot tall man, can barely see over like the front hood. It's very dangerous for pedestrians. There's been some research about how fast you think you're going when you're in an elevated seat in a truck that tall. I mean, imagine like elementary school kids crossing the street to go to school, right? It's a little problematic for these vehicles to be so tall because it's so much more dangerous for children. Not only if you hit them or you can't see them, but when you hit them, right? If you get hit by a car and you go over, I believe you're a little bit more likely. And I would imagine, like, if I were to hit you with my Toyota Corolla sedan, if you were to go over the car, you're a little bit more likely to be okay, right? And you're still going to be a little messed up. But if I hit you with that truck, there's no way you're going over it. Your center of mass is lower than that of the middle of the car. Unless you jump, like even if I got hit by it as a 6 foot tall man, you're going under the truck, which is significantly more dangerous. And so there's some issues with the sheer size of our vehicles out here in America. And I understand if you live in a rural environment, that's very important. But if you live in the suburbs, you do not need to be driving a truck that's literally taller than I am, just for the sake of, what do you do? Sometimes you move a couch. Yeah, it does not need to be your daily driver. Maybe you tow your jet skis to the lake every now and then, but we really need to be a more not even car centric society. I'm not even saying everyone drives sedans. I'm saying we need alternate modes of transportation for environmental purposes and to help lower income people. Better train systems. We don't have a train system that goes from San Francisco to LA. Like you just have to drive or take a flight. I feel like that's a not super uncommon commute. I know plenty of people who have relationships. Both of them live in California. One's in San Francisco. One's in LA. Things like your significant other, things like, oh, I've gone to day trips to LA to do work. We need a little bit more public transit. I'm not even saying let's outlaw trucks. I'm saying we should consider that they're a little dangerous, but I'm saying maybe consider some alternate modes of transportation, doing better on public transit. I've been to Europe. I've been to Japan. Oh my God, Japan. You don't even have to look at the train schedule. You show up in Tokyo to a train station. There's a train there every 2 minutes. You're ready to go. Right? They have a lot of safe alternatives for women as well in public transit. We have in Japan female only train cars, where at certain parts of the day only women can ride there because there's been a lot of harassment, and we really should try to get rid of that at the core. But a great way to help it while we work on that is female only transit. So making transit safe, affordable, especially for lower income families who can't afford these outrageous gas prices, is very important, and it'll be better in the environment. Because what's more environmentally efficient? A train that can go 5 miles that carries 2,000 people, or 2,000 people driving 2,000 cars to get 5 miles away, right? The train just seems better and more cost effective for everyone. And so we need better public transit out here in the US as well.
Oh, yes. When I first came to Miami, oh my god. What I reach here in 20 minutes with my car, I used to reach in 1 hour 30 minutes minimum, and after changing four transports. And when I was in Europe, I would just go and they would be like, as you said, train every few minutes. And it's true, the public transport is so beautiful and so efficient and so much into the daily lives of people and culture. Like somewhere I feel like how we decide to sustain our society is also a reflection of our culture, right?
Yeah, and this is going to be a very culturally difficult thing to change in America. I feel like if there are a couple of things about America you can't change, it's the fact that we have guns and the fact that we are a very car centric society. Everyone wants their car. I was very adverse to it once. I'm like, dude, parking should be free. What the hell? When I realized that actually, like just riding a train would be better. I mean, think about it. If you could go out to the bar, right, and there is a train, and maybe a 5 minute walk from that train, 5-10 minute walk to get back home, that's cutting down on drunk drivers right there, right? I'm not incentivized to drive to the bar and then try to sober up and then drive home, or pick a designated driver, and that designated driver slips and they start drinking. Now we don't have a designated driver. Now we don't want to pay for an Uber. Someone drives home a little drunk. I'm not saying that I did this at any point. I've never done that. But when you have alternate modes of transport, maybe we can eliminate some of that drunk driving. A lot of unnecessary motor deaths out here in America. And I heard this statistic, something like the average driver is actually pretty good. You would think the average driver is not very good, but you get in a car accident once every 30 years. I've been driving for 12 years so far, and I have not been in a major car accident. So with that in mind, a lot of people are safer drivers, but we still should be trying to drive that number down, the number of deaths from car accidents, the number of drunk driving accidents, and that's doable with better public transit. But like I said, guns are so rooted in American culture. The same is with cars, right? We've built these roads, we haven't built these train tracks, we haven't built these bus systems that make a lot of sense in some places. We don't have a train that goes all the way down to LA from San Francisco. And so we're very used to being connected by cars when we could be very connected by trains that are as sick as they are in Japan, because they have very nice like luxury first class trains where they'll serve you food. Think of it, it's an airplane, but you're on the ground. They'll serve you food, you have access to Wi-Fi. It's a very nice calm ride. You can look out at the nature, and you don't have to do the driving yourself. I know some people find driving relaxing, and you can still do that. I'm not saying just abolish all cars, right? There's still plenty of cars in Japan, but having the opportunity to use a train would be fantastic, especially for people who want to meet up with a long distance significant other, or go out to LA for a work trip, or just do something short and not have to worry about maintaining a car and car insurance and gas prices and changing your tires and getting your oil changed and all that stuff.
I believe that's a sustainable perspective to behold on, because alternatives sometimes become a necessity. It's just not a luxury. And sometimes a person who, like mostly in America, the person who is having the car is the owner of the car. So a person goes through so many different phases in its life, such as emotional, then age, then health, and every time you and your car are like, you know together. So the car has to be like the child of the family, even if you are not well, but it has to be well because it is inevitable and indispensable. But what I like about cars is like, and roads of America, oh my god, when I push that feet on that pedal, and it gives me that rush, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful to drive in America, and such a network of roads it has, and everything. Like, I'm very new, okay, I never driven before coming to America, and here I come and I drive. And one time, like just after coming, I didn't even have a license because of COVID. I just had a learner's license, and I had to drive all the way from here to Maryland.
Yeah.
Very short notice, like we had to leave in 4 or 5 hours, and I went through series of like rain. Like, it rains heavily sometimes, and if you do not know to drive, the trucks really look magnanimous, they look very big. And I was like so fearful, but at the same time I enjoyed driving through the beautiful valleys of Virginia, then Carolina, all these places. When I like went through, like I could have taken the flight also, but it was like pandemic, so the mode of transportation was more secure with the cars at that time, I guess.
Yeah.
So at that time was one of the most memorable memories I have with the US roads and car. So anything you would like to share with us today?
Oh yeah, that's about it. I'm no environmental expert, and my opinions are subject to change. But I do believe we could be doing more for the environment, more for lower class people. And yeah, I guess the last thing I want to mention, I didn't talk about it too much, but if anyone's looking for a video editor or social media manager, if there are any companies out there, if you want me to work remote, or if you're based in Northern California, you can shoot me an email or find me anywhere. Pretty much, I'm pretty much everywhere. And yeah, thank you for chatting, and hopefully this was useful to the people out there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Violet. It was very much pleasure to have you, share with you the perspectives and the insights that you behold that are really global and very much human in nature. You talk about peace, humanity in ways that people would be inspired to think about it, because it will never fail to build on concepts like that and to engage into a better culture, to be more familiar to each other than being distant away. I really like your journey towards your professional career, the way you have indulged and immersed into such a magnificent and fantastic person. I congratulate for you for all those achievements, and I wish you all the best for the journey. And I hope more people come and share views and perspectives with you. And thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks for watching, guys. At Stealth Shampoo on Twitter. That's stealth, like being quiet, and then shampoo, like the thing you put in your hair. If anyone has any job offers or leads for me, and God bless America.
God bless America.